And when I started doing this work in the streets again, I was just reminded that this is why we wanted to do it.
Connected you back to your purpose.
This is why we do it. And it really is very simple. You had a chance to capture some revenue and you didn't do it.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to the big bosses, to me, the start of the solution is pretty simple. Just think about that part, that piece of it right there. Yeah. What are you going to do in that moment? One, you're going to create alternatives and options. I would not let them walk out the door with a dog that has a condition without doing something.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 1 of the Veterinary Leader Podcast, brought to you by Companion Pet Partners. I'm your host, Dr. Kate Elden, and I'm so glad you're here. At Companion, we're passionate about growing leaders, and that's what this podcast is all about. Whether you're an associate veterinarian leading your team in a busy hospital, a practice owner or medical director leading a large, diverse team, or maybe you're in industry, policy, or operations, this podcast is for you. You're going to hear real conversations with leaders across our industry who are shaping the future of veterinary care. Our hope is that these conversations challenge and inspire you in your role as a veterinary professional. Now, before we get started, I want to ask you a big favor. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast. It's a really simple way to let us know you want to hear more of these conversations, and it'll help us reach more people. All right, are you ready? Let's dive in. I experienced that when it comes to telemedicine as well, because there's a lot of rules and legislation around what the relationship can be if you don't examine a pet in person. And the Veterinary Practice Act, it's written in there that you can and cannot do certain things virtually. And these people, maybe, I had a client that was quarantined because a rabies positive bat was found in her area. So she can't physically get into a veterinary clinic. I've had people that are recovering from surgery and they can't get out of their home. People with young kids, or that they're working and they can't leave work because it's their livelihood. And so, would having them come into the clinic for an exam be perfect? Yeah, it would. Do I tell them? Yeah. But do I not help them? Because and I realize that that's violating the spirit of the Practice Act, right? But when I have an advisor I talk to, I'm like, look, is this something that, somebody's going to come a complaint against the board or come for my license for? And this advisor said, he's like, well, is it defensible in front of a jury of your peers? And I said exactly what you said. I'm like, it is. And you know what? I think not helping these people I wouldn't be able to defend that. And I don't think my peers would either. So I try to do the right thing, every time. And I'm hearing that parallel, like I'm right there with you.
If I have to go in front of a board and defend it, I have no problem. And in fact, I almost welcome it so that perhaps I can be a megaphone and start talking about this a little more, because there is a letter of the law and there is a spirit of the law.
Yes.
And you're right. Sometimes the rules have to be bent a little bit. Mm-hmm. I take my veterinary oath more serious than anything else, more serious than the Veterinary Practice Act, because it doesn't always get it right. Mm-hmm. And finances and money and situations and conditions. But the oath is so simple. It is, I am there to alleviate pain and suffering. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. And if I'm doing that, if I'm addressing that, and it seems to butt up against the Veterinary Practice Act, I'm fine defending that. I would welcome that.
I like that as the guiding light, because also nowhere does it say that you have to use an otoscope to look in the ear or a stethoscope to listen to the heart, So, that really resonates with me. I love that conversation of the new grad who struggled with whether or not they felt comfortable treating the ear. And I think as we are in practice, veterinarians in clinics day to day, especially the newer veterinarian that's like coming into their own leadership and having to make those choices, to hear other people say that it's okay if you don't get a good look into the ear. Maybe the dog's aggressive. It's okay. You can still help them. Some help is better than no help. Mm-hmm. I just kind of want to scream that from the rooftops with you and get up on the megaphone.
Well, I do. I mean, I'm on this speaking tour, and I was at the Mars Summit as our keynote not long ago. And I'm going to be the inaugural keynote so Western Veterinary Conference is launching in Nashville.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes.
So now it's not just Vegas every year, but now they're doing it in Nashville, Nash Vegas. So they asked me a couple weeks ago if I would be their keynote at their kickoff WVC. And so when I have an audience, veterinarian, it doesn't matter what audience actually, but especially my peers and other veterinarians, I'm sure to talk. All this. I spew all this, and I don't hold back anymore. I'm at a point where I have nothing to lose. If I was 3 years out and I'm paying the bills, and my boss says I need you to come in and work a double shift, well, then I'm working a double shift. I'm at the point now where like, look, these are my rules.
Yeah, I feel like am I right to say there was a bit of a turning moment at that 7-Eleven moment where you just like you were just helping somebody, and then from then on, the rest is history? Or how is that evolution of service?
I became a little bit more cavalier over the years. Maybe that happens with everybody when you do something long enough. You just get very comfortable and confident in what you're doing. But I think in providing help and service to these people, I don't know. There's something precious about that time in our life when we were young and we wanted to be a vet. It was so pure. You just want to go out. I don't think there was really a whole lot of consideration about, I want a big house and money and I want all these material things. It was like, I love animals. I just want to save animals. I just want to help animals.
Absolutely.
And then we get into practice and life and kids and family and running a business, and it all starts to drift. And when I started doing this work in the streets again, I was just reminded that this is why we wanted to do it.
Connected you back to your purpose.
This is why we do it. And it really is very simple. And I know there's complicating things around it, but when I go out in the streets and I'm one-on-one with someone, again, I'm 7 years old, just like trying to fake treat my kitten at the house. And that's why I keep going back. And this is why I'm done with, traditional practice for the most part. I had my years, I put in my time, and I enjoyed it, and I provided a service, and it provided a nice life for me. Yeah. But this is where I get my joy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, just following your purpose, and then just kind of being like unapologetic about it, What other things are you going to be speaking about at these upcoming conferences? What kind of changes do you want to see in the industry?
I don't know. Get me started on that. Yeah. We just know there's an access problem. There's an affordability problem. And it's sort of humdrum. We all know that. How are we going to fix it? I'm probably talking about it and probably starting to rail against a little bit corporate America. We've become too corporatized. We know that. But between these large corporations that own and manage so many hospitals, they have a lot of influence.
Huge.
And they can create a lot of change if they want.
Right.
So wrapped up in their bottom line, fine, I get it. But everybody can still win if you remember why you're doing what you're doing. And business owners, suits, they don't remember that all the time. Yeah. I'm just being frank, they don't. Yeah. They look at the numbers and nothing else. Yeah. Veterinarians, maybe on the other extreme, like I just want to help the animal. And there is like a place in the middle where you have to keep the doors open.
Yes.
But look, if you just pay attention to the 52% that are walking out the door without anything, that is revenue you've lost, number one. But number two, that is probably a client you've lost forever.
Yeah.
Once they see that big estimate and they're sitting there in shame, and there is some
shame.
There's a guilt and the shame, and they have to actually look at the doctor or the vet tech and say, I can't do that. I just don't know. Let me go home and think about it. What you've heard them all. Let me go home and talk to my husband. Let me just hold on. Let me come back tomorrow.
It's an uncomfortable place to be
very awkward
as a veterinarian.
for everybody. They leave. They're not coming back, most likely.
Yeah.
They may go find like cheaper care, or they may go to social media and look up something, or go to YouTube on how to treat an ear infection, or go to AI. And but you've lost a client, the confidence and trust of a client, and two, you had a chance to capture some revenue and you didn't do it.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to the big bosses, to me, the start of the solution is pretty simple. Just think about that that piece of it right there. Yeah. What are you going to do in that moment? One, you're going to create alternatives and options. I would not let them walk out the door with a dog that has a condition without doing something. Well, if you have $100, okay, let me work with you. Let's do something to make him feel better before you leave today. Letting them walk out the door, as I told this new grad, that is not acceptable.
Yeah.
You have all this cool academic knowledge. I get it. You needed to know it. You need to know best practice, gold standard care, but you need to know essential care, which is at the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And in the middle somewhere where you're offering a variety of options. But just thinking like, all right, if you're not going to do everything, I'm sorry, I'll see you tomorrow. Well, then you've missed the mark on why we're here.
Yeah, I feel like that's an opportunity for universities, veterinary schools to start educating in this area of like, access to care, right? How do we provide care when people can't do these things? That's a real opportunity. So that when new grads are coming out of school, they have also this letting them leave with nothing is not acceptable, and in a confident way. That's not how I was taught, for sure. Like we came out wanting to do the best. And it was also well-intentioned. I don't mean to knock on my university. I love my vet school education, but it wasn't part of the curriculum, and it wasn't part of our mindset.
Right.
Too. And that's part of it, I think, is like really a mindset change. And I think it'll be healthy for our industry because it is really, it feels horrible and unrewarding as a veterinarian when you don't get to help somebody. When they say no, like the most rewarding interactions are these ones where you give them a flea treatment that cost, a nominal amount of money and you've changed their lives. All we want to do is help. And when things are too expensive for our clients and we can't help them, that happens day after day after day. It's a mental health problem for veterinarians. And this kind of service that you're providing with Project Street Vet seems like a very rewarding thing for you as a vet. And yeah, I want all vets to be able to experience that as well.
There's the essence of what we do, and just coming back to that is it was life-changing for me, and it kept me in the career. I was, that time I was going to quit the shelter, what I should have told you is it wasn't just the shelter I was going to quit. I wanted to quit being a vet. My experience was so traumatic in some ways. I just needed a break from vet medicine altogether and just being a vet. I was going to go be a fitness trainer or something and just get away from it entirely. But
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't too. I don't know how the whole fitness thing would have worked out, but the investment to become a vet, the money, the years, and not just undergrad and vet school, but we're talking, this starts back in high school and before.
Oh yeah.
The grades and the commitment and the discipline, and then to push your way through and then pay off, $200,000 in student loans. To walk away from that after 8 years, that wouldn't have made any sense. So
many vets think of the same thing that you just said, though. I have so many colleagues that have been to the point to where their mental health is so, stretched to where they consider leaving the profession or, just not recommending the profession to the next generation. I think that's also, as a profession, something that we should talk through. And as leaders and voices in the profession, just put out there hey, it's a problem that vets don't recommend their profession to the next generation, right? And why is that? It is troubling. What can we do to make that better and make people feel like they want to be a veterinarian forever? Yeah. And I think it comes back to those interactions like you were saying, or we were talking about earlier, is in the exam room when you don't get to help people, right? If the cost of care is too high, that's definitely in there as one of the things that just takes a tax, right?
Takes its toll.
Yeah. We've talked about how great Project Street Vet is, and I'm such a huge fan. If our listeners want to get involved, how can they do that? What's the best way?
They can go to projectstreetvet.org.
Okay.
That's our website. And we share tear-jerking stories, and there's a link to donate. And if you want to volunteer and get involved, we're in 6 cities around the country, so mostly on the coast, but Atlanta, Orlando, New York, San Diego, LA, Bay Area. And we're going to start pushing inward. So we're going to be in Philadelphia and Dallas in 2026. But there's volunteer opportunities, and you can come out and you don't have to be a vet or a vet technician necessarily. You can come out and help with the paperwork or help set things up or just be a part of it.
I was just going to ask you about that because I want to rally a bunch of our local San Diego teams to come out and all volunteer together on a day. And I was going to ask you, do you have to be a vet, or can anybody come and show up?
You can, yeah. I brought John Legend with me. So we started a dog food company last year called Kismet. John, Chrissy Teigen, and myself. And one of John's first questions, and it was sincere. He's like, I want to come out and like help you and do what you do. So he came to one of the pop-up clinics, and I had him drawing up vaccines, about to stick his finger. I was waiting for him to stick his finger. That's actually what I wanted to happen. But no, he was great, and they've been supportive. The company's been supportive, providing free dog food to the in-house when I go out in the streets. So yes, anyone, we take all comers. The thing is, when we announce a clinic coming up, I'm proud to say this now, but I'm told this by people who've been trying to volunteer for quite a while, within 3 or 4 minutes, the guest list or the volunteer list is full. So it gets announced and people jump on, and we always have more help than we need, which is a great thing.
That's amazing. That speaks to people want to do more of this. People really want to give. I feel that as a vet. That's what made me so excited about having you on the podcast. I guess one thing that I ask all of our guests is, what do you do? Like, I'm hearing a lot of joy in your day-to-day, but is there anything like different that you do to try to bring fun into when you're walking around? Maybe you're on Skid Row and kind of these like scenarios where it might be a little sad. You see people that have been going through so much. Is there something that you do to keep a smile on your face when you see people that have just lost everything? How do you bring joy in your day-to-day? In the beginning, I felt like, the very beginning, I was probably pretty rigid and maybe too professional. And now I joke with them. I feel like not that I'm trying to make light of their situation, but in Skid Row, for example, they have neighbors. Like, they have their own like neighborhood, and this is they're living outside of the streets. Yeah.
He's like, my neighbor Joe over here, and like, Joe, shut the hell up. And they have this like rapport with each other. And so when I'm outside with them, I just try and fit in. So I'll make fun of some guy was wearing like different shoes once. I'm like, man, we gotta do something about those shoes. Like, but kind of laughing as I'm telling, like, some people may think that's me trying to insult or not, but it's me just being me and like talking to him like he's a human. And then he laughed back because I know I got to do something about these shoes. By the way, that person, I showed up 2 days later and I brought him a pair of shoes. So when I can help the person, I do. There was a guy who didn't have a sleeping bag. He was in the cold just under his tarp. And I went to Big Five and came back with a sleeping bag. I mean, they're not huge things, but again, it's just it's one, seeing the need, and then just finding a moment to do something about it. It's not a lot of money out of my pocket, but I mean, to them, could you imagine if you're sleeping in the cold and someone shows up with a sleeping bag? So yeah, I joke a lot when I'm out there. My technicians are with me and they know me, and Genesis, who's been with me since the start, she lives in Long Beach. Genesis is the crier. She will cry at anything all the time. Happy tears, sad tears. So I can always rely on her to be the emotion. Yeah. And then I'm more the jokester, and I have fun with the people out there, and I think they appreciate it.
Bring a little levity, see people for who they are. I'm remembering hearing you won the CNN Hero of the Year award, and didn't you donated a lot of the money that came with that prize back, right? I'm seeing a theme of just giving and service. Tell us about that. And then I want to know, how did this like a theme of just giving and service, have you always been that way?
No, I haven't. Maybe by comparison, I was pretty selfish when I was younger. I think when you get out of school and you're like, you have this cloud of student loans over your head. Yeah. And you're just trying to catch up, or finally in your life, you're like, I can go out and like buy a few things I've been wanting forever. Yeah. A few months after graduating vet school, I went to the Ford dealership, not far from here, in Mission Valley, and I bought the Cobra, the black on black Cobra Mustang, the one that was spinning in the middle of the showroom. I had no business buying that car. right? But I finally had a job and I had some like income. I was like, I'm getting this car.
You got something to show for it.
And like something to show for the hard work. And then I was buried paying that off forever. But, you do that for so long and I don't know, you just want to be able to enjoy a few things. I actually lost my train of thought. I got thinking about that Mustang that I gave away.
Asking about, same, you gave it away.
Yeah, I gave it,
How did you become this way?
Yeah, speaking of giveaway, so for the CNN award, it came with a $100,000 prize attached to it. And I was one of 10 finalists this night at a gala in New York. It was the big night. And the CNN award, it starts with thousands of nominees. The year I won, started with 15,000 nominations. And you could nominate anyone you want. That's how it works. You just write into CNN and say, I want to suggest this person for the award. They're doing great things.
Do you know who nominated you initially?
No, I don't.
Oh.
It could have been multiple people for all I know.
Yeah.
But they take the nominations and then the 15,000 gets whittled down over the course of a year down to 1,000, down to 500, down to 100. Down to 30. When it comes to 30, you can actually say, I'm a CNN hero for 2023.
Okay.
And then the 30 goes to 10. And then the 10 goes to a nationwide vote. So the 10 get voted on over the course. It's like we're all using our social media to gather votes and get the word out. And then the 10 are flown to New York. And then with celebrities, my tribute story was announced by Amanda Seyfried. So the Mean Girls actress.
Oh, yes. Okay.
She knew I was going to be there and she said, I want to do his story. Yeah. She's like, I want to tell his story. So I was attached, each of us was attached to a celebrity who told our story. Brooke Shields was there and a few others. And then it's like the Oscars at the last moment, Anderson Cooper and Anderson, I'm dyslexic, by the way. Anderson Cooper.
You're doing great.
All right. He opens the card. And then it's like, again, so and tonight, this year's winner is, and so I come up.
And you didn't know.
You don't know. All of us are on stage, just like
suspense.
waiting. Yeah, the suspense and knowing there's this money. And of course, everything that's come since has just been far beyond my expectations. Then you go up, and you give a speech. And then during the middle of the speech, I think because I blacked out, I said I was going to share the money. So I shared the 100,000. I said it splits evenly 10 ways pretty nicely. So I want to celebrate with all of you tonight. So I shared the money with the other 9. And that's, again, I joke now that, I think I just like, when I graduated vet school, I was making, 1997 here in San Diego, I was making $42,000 a year.
Yeah.
So I was doing a CNN interview the very next morning, like 6 a.m. on 3 hours of sleep because I did party.
Of course.
And they're like, why did you? And I said, I think, one, I blacked out, but I really got to know these people over the course of the 3 days we spent together. And they were just amazing in their own right. But then I also said that, like, in a span of 6 seconds, I gave away 2 years' salary, 2 years of what I would have earned back when I started working. I mean, it went like that. But when I returned home to San Diego, within 48 hours, the San Diego Foundation wrote a check for $100,000.
Oh, wow.
I gave it right back. So that's how it works. And that, to me, that is how life, that is the best part of giving, is whether you want it to come back or not, it usually does. And it usually comes back, 2-3 times.
That's such an amazing lesson. And I feel like you, in that moment up there on stage, just being given this award, you were stripped down to the essence of who you are. And that is a generous person. That was your instinct, was just to give it back. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun.
Thanks for sharing that with us and the process, because I didn't know all the steps that led up to that. Very cool. Are there things that you want to see in our profession? What is it? What do you envision for the future, and what veterinary medicine could look like?
Well, I'm going around speaking to the schools. So in addition to my bigger audiences, and I'm doing the public speaking, I am going to a lot of the veterinary schools. I was at my alma mater. I was at
Colorado State, you said?
Colorado State. I was at U of A. I'll be going to Tufts, Davis, Ohio State. So when I'm speaking to the student body, I tell them exactly what I shared with you, that you need to remember who you're serving and why. And I tell them to think back to a time when you didn't have much money. And it was probably in vet school when you had a dog and it had a need, a medical need, and you could not afford gold standard care. The vet was like, hey, I would love to I want to do the comprehensive blood work and I would love to send you for a CT while we're at it. They recommend everything they can recommend, but were you able to pay for all that?
Yeah.
I said, I want you to take yourself back to that moment anytime you have to, when you're in front of a client who's like, I can't do everything, and sit and talk to them like a human and explore options. That's what I want. If I can do anything before the sun sets in my career, my time, it is getting the message out.
Connect with a human in front of you.
Remember who you're serving and why you got into this business. And if you just keep that part over here, you will always do right.
Yeah.
And always honor your oath and your profession and your license, why you are a vet, and the person you're serving. And it really took me to have to go to the streets to learn this and understand it fully, but it's been a learning curve. I don't claim to have had it all figured out many years ago, but I've stayed humble and learned along the way from people around me and people in the streets who have taught me things too.
Yeah, I've learned some things from unexpected people as well. And sometimes those are the most fun lessons. Like I had a cowboy packer that I worked with in the mountains, high school educated, who, when I was in vet school, is like, hey, you should use your left hand to brush your teeth. It'll make you a better surgeon because then you'll be ambidextrous. I'm like, and then I opened up my eyes. I'm like, I have so much to learn from all of these people around me, and he's right. It did make me a better surgeon. And I can relate to what you said about, having my own dog in vet school and not being able to afford the care I had the love of my life, this dog, Cody, a yellow lab golden retriever that I adopted from this pack station, horse and mule pack station I worked at in the Eastern Sierras. And he really needed a tooth extracted. And it was more than one, and one of them was a canine, and I knew it in vet school. And I definitely felt shame about like, oh God, do I take him? And then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford the surgery for him. So I waited until I got to my internship. And then the equine surgeon that I was working with, because I did a rotating equine internship in Colorado, and we did it together. And it was I lived that experience of being like, I don't know if I can afford this or not. That's good to remember that when I'm in the exam room, so I can use that as a tool to relate to the clients that, we've all been there.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. Are there any notes or takeaways that you want to leave our listeners with?
No, I think we've covered a lot. I will leave you with what I typically tell people when I'm closing out my presentation. It's something that I heard once, and I want to make sure I get this right. He said, we are here for but a blink to the universe. Mm-hmm. Our time here is short, and you will be forgotten.
Yeah.
In fact, if your name is even uttered once 100 years from now, you'll be lucky. But he went on to say, if you want to be recorded on the fabric of time, the universe recognizes the energy and the vibration of kindness. Mm. That is how you're remembered. And that is how you live on. And I carry that with me a lot because it was so profound. And you know where I heard it? I heard it at Skid Row.
Wow.
It was a homeless man with his dog Pepper. And I examined his dog. She didn't need anything. She was in excellent health for the most part. And this is a man living under a tarp who, by the way, did not have a pair of shoes. He was barefoot, sleeping under his tarp. And I cared for his dog. We sat and talked for a while. As I was walking or getting ready to leave, he shared that with me. He gave me a hug. Oh. And I walked off. I returned about 3 hours later with lunch. I was going to sit down and have lunch with him, and he was gone. He was gone almost like there was no trace of him. And I sometimes wonder if that really happened. The tarp was gone, he was gone, the dog was gone. It was, to me, it was almost like the Buddha himself was living in Skid Row and told me that and then disappeared. But I heard that from a homeless man in the streets.
Wow. And I'm going to repeat it back because I want to make sure I got it right, was that the fabric of the universe remembers kindness.
Yeah. If you want to be recorded on the fabric of time, the universe sees or recognizes the vibration, the energy of kindness that lives on well beyond our human form or matter, but it is kindness that lives in the stars.
That's the most beautiful thing. And I think our pets, they're kind to us. You know, our animals that we serve, that's a beautiful thing.
We'll leave it there. I think we covered it all.
I don't think it's going to get better than that. What a beautiful guiding light. Dr. Kwane, thank you so much for coming on our podcast today. I loved these conversations. I love standing up and screaming from the rooftops about how we should not let people walk away without any care.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
I look forward to continuing these conversations with friends and other colleagues that I meet. Thanks so much for joining us today. And tell us before we leave, projectstreetvet.org, how else can people get in touch with you?
They can go to our Instagram and DM us.
Okay.
But my email, my executive director, Danae, her email, and my brother who helps run the charity, all of our emails are also there on the website. And that's one way people can always reach us.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Veterinary Leader Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like, subscribe, and share it with your network. This helps us reach more people. And thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.